This beautiful plant is Epipremnum pinnatum. Actually, I don't know why this is not more common than it is, but this is a beautiful plant that is fenestrated, which means it has these open windows. I've had this growing in my home for probably 5 years now, and it's not growing in any kind of direct light. It's actually between my living room and my bedroom in between, so it's getting like kind of ambient light. I'm sure if I give it a little bit more of a brighter light, it would grow very well. I mean, you could see actually how it's humped over and it kind of gripped onto this little pole. And I think what's interesting about it is you see these fenestrated leaves, or these leaves with these windows, and as soon as it's not growing from the pole anymore, it started to revert back to kind of this juvenile growth or leaves without fenestration. So if I give this a taller pole, I would imagine that this will actually develop more fenestrated leaves. This particular plant is very widespread throughout Asia and I believe also northern Australia. So there's no shortage of this plant around, and it's probably an invasive in some areas because, like many Epipremnum, it just grows extremely well. You could grow this in a lower light condition all the way to a bright light screened. And like I said, I'm kind of growing mine in a much more lower light condition and it's thriving fine. Again, it's probably not growing as much as it could be. But for me, that's okay because I'm even hand selecting some of these plants to be a little bit smaller so I could actually fit them in frame and show you. This particular plant does not actually even have any drainage, so I'm always very careful in watering my plants if the pots actually don't have a drainage hole. And I'm watering this, pretty frugally because the plant in particular is not in any kind of highlight conditions. So I probably water it maybe once a week at most. As far as fertilizing goes, if you're giving it a little bit more light, you could probably up the fertilizer a little bit, but I would say bi-weekly basis and a balanced fertilizer would be fine. Maybe a 10-10-10 or a 20-20-20. Whatever you have around is probably fine. You could also go a little bit more higher on the nitrogen with like a 20-10-10 because this plant is primarily grown for its foliage, and that nitrogen will help give it a little bit more of a greener foliage. But remember, if you're using synthetic fertilizer, just to cut it in half. So if it's saying a half a teaspoon per gallon, make sure you cut it to about a quarter teaspoon per gallon, because over fertilizing your plant could actually cause a lot of stress within the plant and can even kill it. And I would say that humidity, this is a more tropical to subtropical species. It would appreciate higher humidity, but I have moderate humidity in my house and this plant is thriving just fine. So I'd say middle of the road, moderate humidity would be perfect for this plant. And as far as having this plant for about 5 years now, I've had absolutely no pest pressures. I would also say that it's not touching any of my other leaves, so it's not going to get any kind of pest pressures from other plants crawling onto its leaves. So that is really helpful and also very unusual in a place like mine. However, I think that this plant, like its fellow Epipremnum aureum, which is devil's ivy, and the one that we probably are more familiar with, is a very prolific grower, and so is this one. But this, of course, is a little bit more unique. So if you're looking for something that's easy to grow and unique for your home, then I would choose Epipremnum pinnatum.